It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast of America, and live from the WACA studios, this is Good Night. We begin tonight with a story that has the internet losing its collective mind this week. The classic children's song that teaches them the ABCs, you know, the one that we all love. Well, apparently, there's a remix going around that butchers the version myself, so many others have been taught. It goes pretty steady until the LMNOP mark, where instead of increasing the tempo to fit the notes of the song, you know, like you're supposed to, it reads the notes in the same downward pitch as normal, but keeps the same tempo as the rest of the song. Now take a listen.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
This new ABC song does not get my seal of approval. It's not even a banger. The old song taught kids about improvisation. It showed you that you didn't need to keep yourself at the same tempo the whole time, both musically and in life. Also, who sanctioned this official change to such an iconic song? Now, when an officer pulls you over, am I not going to get arrested for not knowing the correct version of the ABC song? This whole situation is a mess, and I'm very displeased. It can't get worse than this. Next story. The second largest great white shark ever tagged in the Atlantic Ocean is making its way down the East Coast. Nicknamed Unamaki, this shark weighs 2,000 pounds and is 15 feet 5 inches long. It bears stating that statistic probability of being a victim of a shark attack is incredibly low, but that doesn't make it any less terrifying. Unamaki was initially spotted in Nova Scotia, but has made her way down to the Myrtle Beach area and is heading for the Florida Keys. It seems like every year up here in Massachusetts, there are a bunch of reports of sharks off the coast of Cape Cod. So let's just hope that Unamaki isn't one of them come next beach season next year. Officials tracked her so they could see where she's giving birth and keep up with the little predators. But like I said before, Unamaki is 2,000 pounds and 15 feet long. A few weeks ago, we did a story on Celtics big man and NBA sensation Taco Fall, using a graph to show just how tall he is. But we redid the graph after learning about this shark because you would need more than 2 Taco Falls to get to the size of Unamaki. Now, in ridiculous news down under in Australia, there's been some problems for farmers. A lack of rainwater has made one man's pitch to those in need seem predatory to some. David Miles, a man with 2 first names, has been selling rainwater to farmers on contracts for around $50,000. You heard that right. Miles is selling rainwater for $50,000. This clause for this is what he calls a success basis. He doesn't get paid if he doesn't work. His claim is that he, with technology that he refuses to license or reveal, has bridged the space-time continuum so he is able to manipulate weather 10 days into the future. Pretty amazing stuff if you're down on your luck farmer. In fact, there are a few down on your luck farmers who have signed contracts and say they've been satisfied with Miles' services. In terms of legal ramifications, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission says that there's nothing they can do. But hey, don't give this man money. Miles also tried another con, or opportunity as he called it, back in 2006 and was defamed by the same commission. So this isn't his first rodeo, but if you're really in the need of some rainwater, give David Miles a call. But before you do, remember what they say. Never trust a man with 2 first names. And finally, it's Halloween weekend, so we're getting some spooky news for you just in time. It's haunted house season, of course, and if you're in the Minnesota area, there's a spooky museum exhibit where you can vote on the creepiest doll. At the History Center of Olmsted County, which is itself sounds like a horror movie, people have submitted their dolls in order to be judged as the most horrifying. Unfortunately, there is no option for all of them. And if you're in the Alabama or Tennessee area, there's a world-famous haunted house that opens its doors to anyone wanting an intense experience. The McCanny Manor is a 10-hour experience of horror where you can subject yourself to any manner of psychological terror. But in doing so, you need to sign a 40-page waiver, get a doctor's note, pass a standard background check, and most importantly, a drug test. It all gets filmed, so if you want to see yourself getting spooked, there's an option for that. The owner says that nobody has ever gone through the whole tour, even with the promise of money at the end. And certainly, I'm not going to argue that. Now that's going to do it for the news this week. Stay tuned for Lucy Burdge This Week in Music History, Tom Hamilton's In Case You Missed It, and for some bits from our crew celebrating Halloween. And don't go anywhere because we have what's trending on Twitter to discuss. So keep it locked to Good Night.
Boo! Happy Halloween, everybody. This is the bit we're doing for Good Night tonight, and it's our Halloween Spooktacular. I'm going to be going around and asking some of the crew what their favorite horror movies are / Halloween movies, and the most scared they've ever been by a horror movie is. We're starting with Cameron. Yeah, go behind the light. Make it look all spooky.
You see, when I was a kid, I was a little scared of everything. And so it's not much of a horror movie, but I was scared of Mars Attacks because they were big, spooky, scary aliens with big brains. And they make people jelly and people skeletons, and that was pretty scary. Another actual horror movie I was scared of for a while was one of the many Friday the 13th spin-off movies. I think Jason Goes to New York or something.
Jason Goes to New York is lit.
It's pretty funny. And I think you see his face and he's all gobbledygook, and it's really scary and kind of grody.
Dude, that's the best scene. It's like the boxer comes up and he's just like, all right, let's do this, Jason. And he's like, gah, 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 gah. And he punches him across the whole building, and then he tires himself out, and then he's just like, I'm all tired now. And Jason goes, boom, and just punches his head into a dumpster. Dumpster closes. We're gonna roll that clip. I'm gonna put that in the edit. The most scared I've ever been at a horror movie was James Wan's The Conjuring, which by all accounts is a pretty normal horror movie. But I was hanging with my friends and I was watching it, and there's this scene where this guy's just walking through like a clothesline with a bunch of bed sheets on it, and then he just looks to his left, and there's a ghost that comes out of nowhere and starts screaming at him. But I literally kicked my friend in the face because I was so startled by the jump scare, and that kind of ruined his night. I actually think it really hurt his jaw on that. So, sorry, Keith. But the most scared besides that I've ever been at a horror movie was the first Friday the 13th movie. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. At the end of the movie, you think everything's all good, and this girl's floating in a boat, and you're like, wow, she made it. That was really tough. She evaded the killer and everything. And then she sees the cops, and she's like, hey, I'm okay, I'm over here. Jason comes out of the water, pulls her down. Horrified me. Scars me to this day. I can't go in lakes anymore.
So the scariest thing that gave me nightmares when I was a kid was probably from the first zombie movie I ever saw, which was Shaun of the Dead. And there was this one scene, I think, where they're all boarded up in a bar, and there's a bunch of zombies. And there was this guy named David who just gets pulled out of one of the windows, and they're trying to save him. They're like, David, no. And you just see him get absolutely ripped to shreds by zombies. And that was, I think that came out in 2004. So I was probably 9 or 10 when I saw it. And that was just, that gave me nightmares forever.
This is Lucy Burdge with Good Nights This Week in Music History. We begin in 1956 when Elvis Presley made his second appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show, where he was presented with a gold record for Love Me Tender. In 1969, Elvis went to number 1 on the US singles chart with Suspicious Minds. In 1973, Gladys Knight and the Pips started a 2-week run at number 1 on the US singles chart with Midnight Train to Georgia. In 1975, Bruce Springsteen had simultaneous covers on both Time and Newsweek. And in 1980, Bruce earned his first number 1 US album with The River. In 1982, Men at Work went to number 1 on the US singles chart with Who Can It Be Now? In 1983, Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers went to number 1 on the US singles chart with Islands in the Stream. In 2002, Jam Master Jay was murdered when he was shot at his recording studio in Queens, New York. In 2006, Amy Winehouse released her second and final studio album, Back to Black. In 2016, Bob Dylan accepted his Nobel Prize in Literature. And finally, also in 2016, Elvis broke the record for the most number 1 albums by a solo artist. This has been Lucy Burdge for Good Nights This Week in Music History. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lucille Burdge for both.
Hello and welcome to the second installment of In Case You Missed It, a segment where I briefly go over the most popular releases of last week in movies and TV. I'm your host, the Stud Muffin Tom Cruise, and let's get started right away with movies. On Friday, October 25th, Justin Deck's Countdown was released in the theaters. The main cast features Elizabeth Lail as Quinn Harris, Jordan Calloway as Matt Monroe, Talitha Eliana Bateman as Jordan Harris, and Peter Fasolini as Dr. Sullivan. The story involves Quinn Harris, a nurse who downloads a fictional app that tells you how much time you have left to live. She is shocked to find out that she only has 3 days to live. With the clock ticking and a mysterious figure haunting her, she must find a way to save her life before time runs out. Countdown has grossed a worldwide total of $10.7 million, debuting to $9 million. The $9 million opening exceeded expectations, and Countdown finished 5th in the box office this weekend. The horror thriller film received a 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics disappointed in its lack of social commentary on culture and technology. While the movie certainly isn't groundbreaking in any way, it'll still appeal to fans of the genre that just want some cheap thrills and an easy-to-understand premise. On October 18th, Robert Eggers' psychological horror film, The Lighthouse, was released in the theaters. The main cast features Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson as Thomas Wake and Ephraim Winslow, 2 lighthouse keepers who start to lose their sanity when a storm hits the remote island they are stationed on. The movie has grossed a worldwide total of $3.6 million, debuting to $427,000. In its second weekend, the movie grossed $1.3 million, finishing 7th in the box office. The Lighthouse has a staggering 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics praising its story, cinematography, and acting performances by Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Even if you aren't a fan of psychological horror films, this is a movie that you do not want to miss. Also released on October 18th was the satirical dark comedy Jojo Rabbit. The main cast features Roman Griffin Davis as Jojo, Thomasin McKenzie as Elsa, Scarlett Johansson as Rosie, and Taka Waititi as Adolf. The film follows Jojo, a young and patriotic 10-year-old living in Nazi Germany. Jojo frequently converses with his imaginary friend, a supportive and childish version of Adolf Hitler. Jojo's world is turned upside down when he discovers that his mother is hiding Elsa, a teenage Jewish girl, in their attic. The film has grossed a worldwide total of $1.5 million, debuting to $349,000. In its second weekend, the movie finished 14th in the box office. Jojo Rabbit has a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics saying that it has serious ideas underneath all the satirical humor. So be sure to give Jojo Rabbit a watch for some good laughs and some thought-provoking ideas. Moving on to television, on October 21st, Netflix saw the return of BoJack Horseman for its 6th season. The show stars Will Arnett as Bojack, a self-loathing, alcoholic, anthropomorphic horse in his late 50s in Hollywood, struggling with depression and who he's become after a brief stint of fame in his younger years. Despite that depressing description, BoJack Horseman is an incredibly well-written comedy drama series with a very realistic portrayal of depression, trauma, addiction, and self-destruction while maintaining a humorous vibe. Despite mixed reviews of the first season, seasons 2 through 6 have garnered universal acclaim. With a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, you really don't want to miss this one kind of a show. So be sure to catch the 6th season of BoJack Horseman, only on Netflix. Going back to the psychological horror side of things, on October 23rd, Hulu saw the return of Castle Rock for its 2nd season. Season 2 stars Lizzie Kaplan, Paul Sparks, Barkhad Abdi, and Yrsa Warsama as characters in the fictional town of Jerusalem's Lot. Jerusalem's Lot serves as the setting for a number of short stories written by Stephen King, and Castle Rock features adaptations of those stories in that town. The show has an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics praising the writing and acting performances. Be sure to watch Season 2 of Castle Rock only on Hulu to get in the Halloween spirit. Last but not least, on October 27th, HBO's Silicon Valley returned for its 5th season. The main cast features Thomas Middleditch, TJ Miller, Josh Brenner, Martin Starr, and Kumail Nanjiani. Silicon Valley is a comedy series following 5 men who founded a startup company in Silicon Valley, California. The series was created by Mike Judge, who you may recognize as a writer for Office Space, King of the Hill, and Beavis and Butthead. If you're a fan of any of those, you'll surely find enjoyment in Silicon Valley. With a Rotten Tomatoes score of 95%, Silicon Valley is a very intelligent comedy show that manages to appeal to a wide audience. Shaping up to be one of HBO's best comedy series, you surely don't want to miss this hilarious show. That'll do it for this week's installment of In Case You Missed It. Be sure to tune in next week to catch up on this week's releases in movies and TV. I'm your host, the Stud Muffin Tom Cruise, and keep it locked to good night.
It's Halloween here at WACA. John's getting in the spirit yet again.
Boy, I love Halloween.
Yeah, we love his enthusiasm, but makes it a little hard to do a show sometimes. And we can't even do any work when he's around. It's just too distracting.
This looks like a good place to hide.
So whenever I'm editing, he just comes in and tries to spook me sometimes. I mean, it's not even really that scary, but we throw him a bone sometimes.
Oh, Connor! Nailed it.
Got me, John.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back here to Good Night. We're going to talk about what's trending on Twitter. Cameron and Tom joining us as always this week. How you guys doing?
Good. Another week, another dollar, isn't that what they say?
Another week, another dollar. I like it. Halloween this week.
Yeah.
Don't forget to set your clocks ahead this week too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that extra hour of sleep.
Yeah, for one day, and then it's dark at 4:30 every day.
That's
I can't
very
stand
true.
it.
That sucks.
But Connor, back in the studio. Let's see what's trending on Twitter this week. What do we got? National Chocolate Day. All right, guys, what do you think? Cameron, Chocolate Day.
I love chocolate. It's pretty good. I just ate like a bag of M&Ms before the shoot.
So you like white, dark, milk?
Milk's a goodie. I like dark, but like some people like pure dark where it's like rubber. I can't eat that. I'll eat like sweetened dark. I think is what they call it, where they add like some sugar in it or whatever.
Hot chocolate?
I like hot chocolate. Put some whipped cream on it.
Chocolate cake?
Yep, whole 9 yards.
Tom, you're awful quiet over there.
So I hate chocolate. I can't stand it.
You know, that's hate speech. That's hate speech. Just get out of there. What do you mean you hate chocolate? How do you hate chocolate?
I don't like chocolate. I've tried it, all throughout my life. Every now and then I try it again to see if I like it now, and I just don't.
So if I gave you a Snickers bar right now,
I wouldn't eat it.
Hand it to me.
Yeah,
I was
I'd give
gonna
it to
say,
Ken.
yeah. Snickers bar, Hershey bar, Reese's Pieces, Reese's Buttercup, nothing.
Nothing.
I don't know. We might need to get you into therapy. So what do you? So somebody makes you a birthday cake. What do you eat?
Vanilla.
So you
Plain and simple.
vanilla ice cream, vanilla cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not a very vanilla guy. I wouldn't think you're pretty.
I think I am.
What if it's like one of those mixed ones? Like, don't they make them? Isn't it like called marble or something, where they take the
Oh yeah,
white
there you
and
go.
the
Like a
dark and
marble
mix
cake.
them?
Yeah.
I hate those. I just want vanilla.
It's like a minefield.
Yeah. I have to like dodge the chocolate bits. I'm like,
Well, Cameron, the way I
see
see it, there's more chocolate for us. What's your favorite Halloween candy, guys?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably Reese's peanut butter cups. Feel like we talked about this. Our favorite candies or something.
Favorite candy, but Halloween's this week, so
I don't know.
you guys still trick or treat?
No, I'm going to Salem with my
sadly.
friends though.
Going to Salem? That'll be a good time.
Yeah,
It should be a good time. It should be a really good time. Have you ever been to Salem on Halloween?
not on Halloween.
It should be a good time.
Yeah.
And then what's your favorite Halloween candy?
it's got to be Starburst for me.
Yeah, we got to get you into therapy.
No chocolate.
We got to get you into therapy, but that's all right. Connor, back in the studio. What else is trending on Twitter this week? Cleveland versus New England. All right,
A football game.
football game. Good game in the rain, huh?
Yeah.
Unbelievable how much it was raining.
Yeah.
So the Patriots are 8-0.
That's correct.
Got one more game before they go on for their bye week. What are you guys thinking of the game last night?
I thought our defense was fantastic. Our defense is playing spectacular this year.
Are you guys familiar with the infamous butt fumble?
Yes.
From the New York Jets?
Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez.
Could never forget it.
So is Baker Mayfield's blunder yesterday bigger than the butt fumble, or was?
I mean, that was really bad. I'm
That was
assuming
really bad.
you're talking when he just pitched it straight to our guy.
Right.
Yeah. That was really bad, but you can't top the butt fumble, honestly.
Okay, I think you might be right just because of the name of it, butt fumble. But
Yeah.
Cameron, what's your thoughts on the game, mister?
That was just really funny to see that they passed off. Our guy plows right through him and grabs the ball. That's hilarious.
It's ridiculous.
I think we have to be a little concerned. Our place kicker who replaced Kostowski, he scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was pouring rain, it was windy, it was ugly, it was raw out. But Cleveland is definitely not what they said they were going to be this year.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield, he's really having a sophomore slump this year. I know a lot of people are expecting him to repeat his rookie season.
I think it's the coach. The coach looks like he should be coaching like some, little league team or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to, you look at Belichick and then you look at him and go, okay, that's the guy I want, But hey.
Yep.
All right, Connor, what else we got? Connor really likes Kyrie Irving. I'm glad Kyrie Irving is no longer a Boston Celtic.
Agreed.
What do you guys think?
I've never been a fan of Kyrie Irving, honestly. I've always liked Isaiah Thomas, and then when we traded him for Kyrie Irving, I was just like, great.
Addition by subtraction, as far as I'm concerned. But he did drop 50 points against the Timberwolves in the first game of the season
And they still lost.
because he missed
The final
shot
shot.
at the buzzer.
Yeah.
What do you think? Miss him?
No
Nope.
miss him at all.
Nobody misses him.
I don't miss him.
And he's playing for the Nets. I mean, I kind of like the fact that he's going to be playing. I
I
don't know. The Nets might make the playoffs. He makes the Nets a better team, but I don't think Kyrie's a winner. I just don't think he's a winner.
Agreed.
All right, so what else do we have trending on Twitter? Oh, Kanye.
So I myself
Right.
don't really listen to Kanye, but I know our
I know
producer-
somebody who does. Somebody who is the
Connor.
expert on Kanye.
Yep.
All right, so maybe we'll switch seats here. Connor,
Give me the mic.
welcome to coming on the set. So Cameron, you going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Connor and Kanye?
No, Connor's been listening to Kanye since like day one. I could only try and
If
Stay at his
Kanye
level.
ever goes missing, people,
Check
police
Connor's
should go
basement.
right to Connor's house, I would think. And that's not a bad thing. He's probably just Kanye's biggest fan. So what do you think? The new album?
Well, Tom's got to unmute me first. Or maybe I should stay muted because this is going to be a long
thinking-
conversation.
You might stay muted. No,
I'll fill in for Connor. I personally did not enjoy the album
you didn't
as
enjoy
much
it.
or I thought it was very overhyped and super. Oh, it's gonna be great! Making a new album, gonna be gospel. It's gonna be revolutionary, and I just don't think it lived up to the hype that it would had around it of being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then it's just
this is all right.
All right, Connor, you look frustrated with
So,
Cameron's response.
Of course, the background on this is that Kanye West has, as we've been covering on the show for a couple weeks now, has been promising his new album, Jesus is King. It is a gospel-infused album, and he's delayed it multiple times. But we finally got the release date Friday at noon. So it was a little bit late, but I think it was worth it, personally. I disagree with Cameron. It was, I respectfully disagree with Cameron. It was a gospel album through and through, and I think a lot of people weren't expecting that, despite the fact that it was, titled Jesus is King. The production was amazing. He has a full choir of very talented people. Cameron himself, I'm going to throw Cameron under the bus. We were talking about it before we went on, and I said, Cameron, how about that intro track? Because it's this...
I will admit, that was a good intro track.
It's this soaring, new age gospel number. There's no rapping on it at all. It's just a choir singing. And I was like, wow, that was a really stellar track, huh, Cameron? And Cameron was like, I loved that intro track. So...
Wow, Cameron.
Right.
Back it
but
up.
can I also comment?
Back it up.
Can I also comment that we all love Kanye here, but is he also the best guy to be making a gospel album spreading the word of God?
He's a born again Christian. He said on his Zane Lowe interview that he was very strict when making this album. None of his producers he said don't have premarital sex when we're making this album. That's true actually. He said it on his Beats One Zane Lowe interview.
We're going to have to look that up. Okay.
He's a little bit of an eccentric. I think everybody knows that about Kanye at this point. But I think the album came together. The only qualms I have with the album, I was a little underwhelmed in some points. The mixing was very bad.
Now, why would a guy of his stature and his legendary music ability produce a sound quality issue? Is he doing it?
That's
because we're talking about it and all publicity is good publicity, or what is it?
I mean, I don't know. The thing is, it was supposed to come out Thursday at midnight, right? It was supposed to drop, basically on Friday. He delays it and puts out a tweet at 10 in the morning saying we need to go back and we need to remaster some tracks. So I say, okay, whatever, we're used to this by this point.
So in today's day and age, people are making albums and releasing them the same day? It's not like the old days.
Well, Kanye is notorious for that. He was, for a couple of his previous albums, Yeezus, he was literally clearing samples for the album hours before the album was supposed to come out. So he's very notorious for this. But Yeezus was a well-mixed album. There was no sound quality issues. But when I was listening to Jesus is King, I thought my headphones were broken.
Well, that can't be good.
The audio clipping was too much, and I don't know. For someone like Kanye, you can't...
Now, did he release a vinyl version of it?
He did.
Or is it all just on iTunes?
He released a CD and a vinyl version of it.
And can you get it on iTunes?
Yeah, it's on iTunes and Spotify and the whole bit. But, John, it really pains me to say this, but just because of the mixing quality and I liked the album, but I wasn't in love with it, I don't think I'm going to buy the CD.
Wow.
And
Did you catch that, Cameron?
Heard it here first, folks.
Oh, yeah, I was
I've
going
bought
to say, yeah.
all of Kanye's CDs up until this point, but I don't know if I can justify it.
This is the jump the shark moment for Kanye West. Wow.
I might do it later on if I get a couple more listens in and I'm really liking it, but...
You think he fixes the quality, the sound quality?
He's gotta.
It's that bad?
No, he's a pioneer because in one of his previous albums, he said, I'm going to go fix this thing. And it was kind of the advent of streaming services like Spotify and all that, where you can update an album, which was a new thing at the time in 2015. Because you think about when someone released an album 40 years ago, they couldn't update it.
Right.
When they press the vinyl, it's done, But he updated a bunch of tracks, went back and remixed a couple things. So I can't see him not doing that with Jesus is King.
Now, other than music, are people pioneers? Kurt Cobain, he was the greatest thing. No, he just made some pretty good music. I don't know. Is he a pioneer? Your words. Kanye, he's a pioneer. Is there another field, author, filmmaker, Dunkin' Donuts coffee maker? Is anybody else a pioneer, you think? You know what I mean? Because you often hear that term in the music industry, pioneer. Bruce Springsteen's a pioneer, Bob Dylan was a pioneer, but Rolling Stones were, the Beatles were, but you don't hear the word pioneer used really much outside the
Yeah, I
music
think it's a vocabulary thing,
Yeah, okay.
There's authors. What do we say? The last great American novel.
Right.
It was a classic. We don't really say an author is a pioneer in the same way. We say,
Right.
we say
Yeah, there you
he
go.
wrote a classic. A filmmaker is just like critically acclaimed.
Critically
I guess.
acclaimed.
Gets an Oscar
Award
winning.
winning. Yeah. There you go.
But
All right, so we're
Kanye-
gonna have to talk about this again next week.
Yeah.
Because this is like earth-shattering news that you're not.
Like I said, I'm single-digit listens into Jesus is King right now, which are not very good numbers, I admit. But we'll see. We'll revisit it and we'll see. But on the subject of a pioneer, Kanye's a pioneer, through and through.
Non-debatable.
Non-debatable.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's segment on What's Trending on Twitter. We're taking a quick break right here on Good Night. We'll be right back in just a minute.
I'm feeling so far from what I'm seeing. Too fast to outrun, ignoring what I've done. I've lost what I was seeking. Sea of problems crashed into you again. I'm an island, keeping out of reach, sinking under me. Don't bother saving me, I'm feeling so far from what I'm seeing. Too fast to outrun, ignoring what I've done. I've lost what I was seeking. I'm feeling so far from what I'm seeing. Too fast to outrun, ignoring what I've done. I've lost what I was seeking.
Thanks for joining us here on Good Night. I'd like to thank Lucy Burdge for this week's In Music History, Tom Hamilton for In Case You Missed It segment, and Cameron and Connor for joining us on Trending on Twitter. Also special thanks to the Pink Poisons for their music video. And make sure that we come back. You can find that song, Finally So Far, on YouTube and Spotify. We'll be back next Monday at 9 p.m. for another edition of Good Night. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.